Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel, and we've got a lot to cover in this video. So obviously the massive bombshell news about Overwatch 2's Season 10 monetization changes, which I am all in favour of. They are great. There are some issues with the Mythic store. We'll get onto that in a second because we've got further detail in a very in-depth interview that Aaron Keller performed with GameSpot. However, I want to start with this because something's going to happen in the next couple of days where there's going to be an article by Jason Schreier over on Bloomberg about the financial failure of Overwatch 2. So this is, I think, very interesting because we can kind of get behind, maybe predict some of the things that he's going to say in this article by looking at what he's actually been tweeting as of last night and this morning. So let's just get stuck into this. I would grab a drink as well, guys, because this is going to be a pretty meaty video. I've got myself a lovely latte. A vanilla latte, good lord. I've got a fancy coffee machine and it's excellent. Literally the best thing I ever bought. Anyway, let's break this down. So Jason says this to begin with. Big change to Blizzard's struggling live service game Overwatch 2, as all heroes will now be available for free. Previously, you'd have to unlock new heroes either through playtime or by buying the premium battle pass. Now, there's going to be a theme here, and the theme, I think, is Overwatch has got a very high bounce-off rate, so players are not retained when they come to play Overwatch. There's a lot going on. They don't understand what's happening. They don't have access to the heroes. I don't know what this game is, so I move to the next game because it's free to play. So while Overwatch may be like, hey, we've got 100 million players, or we've had 100 million players register accounts, or we've got a lot of players and they want to talk like that, I think they're failing to retain the players compared to maybe other titles out there. And the problem with that is if you can't retain players, then they won't spend money on your game. Anyway, yeah, so this is obviously a loaded comment, right? Struggling. And this is just a link to Polygon, which breaks down the changes we all know about. Anyway, if we move on, we can start seeing some responses here. So this is an interesting one. I'd really like for someone to pick up on the fact that this is a revision to how Overwatch 1 originally handled new characters. A reversion, sorry, not a revision. We're going back to, aren't we? Struggling, is this in reference to the troubled development or current player retention and spend? And he responds with the latter. So current player retention and spend, again, goes into that whole narrative of players are simply not sticking to Overwatch. Hardcore players like me and you and people watching this video, yeah, they're playing the game because they understand the mechanics. They've maybe played it for years. So you're always going to have a space, like a familiar place when it comes to Overwatch. But a new player, you know, this, like, I guess for me, this would be like me trying to play Dota 2. Even though I've got like 50 hours in Dota 2, that's nothing. You need 5,000 hours. You know, I don't know what's happening. And I don't understand the basic mechanics. So it's hard for me to want to spend time in that game. And I think that's what's happening with Overwatch. But obviously in a much quicker, people are making a decision and then moving on to the next free-to-play game. Anyway, yeah, I just thought this was interesting. So trying to highlight here that the current player retention and spend is not enough to warrant what's going on with the development of Overwatch. So let's move on to another comment. Which is the same comment. So I don't know why I've got that open twice. Let's move on. Yeah, so this is somebody asking about still trying to understand what even the point was replacing Overwatch with Overwatch 2 if they are killing PvE and story elements. Basically, the only reason Overwatch 2 even existed to begin with. And he says, the simple reality is the person who drove the vision for PvE left Blizzard 3 years ago. This is Jeff Kaplan. He left 3 years ago, and that was it. You know, that it was his vision for PvE, and it obviously got completely changed. So I think that's the easy answer there. Moving on, we've got this comment here which says Overwatch was destroyed by devs, but destroyed by devs, but C-suite pushing a bunch of BS on the players after Overwatch blew up in popularity. They could have focused properly on updates, but got fucked by Bobby Kotick and his moronic ideas. Now, this is always like the thing, you know, everyone hates Bobby, right? Bobby's caused the problems, Bobby's done this, but look at this. Jason says, few things drove Bobby Kotick crazier than the slowdown of Overwatch 1 content. So this is a really interesting point because I heard, I mean, again, this is just all like hearsay, rumors, speculation or whatever, but I heard that Bobby was not happy with Overwatch 1, basically. He wanted more content going into the game. The problem is, what is Bobby's view of content and what is Overwatch dev's view of content and what is the kind of content that we want? I think in a lot of ways, what we're seeing with Overwatch 2, with its battle pass, its souvenirs, that kind of stuff, that's the Bobby Kotick approach, you know, the hyper monetization of skins, you know, that's the kind of thing that he would class as content. I think what was happening is the original development team led by Jeff was taking way too long to make stuff because they wanted it to be perfect and they wanted it to be better than what they previously made. Now, you can understand this on one level because Overwatch launched, made a ton of money. It was a game you could buy for $40 on PC. I think it was still $60 on console. And yeah, you could buy loot boxes in it, and it made billions of dollars. And yeah, and then it had years of nothing, where all it had was Overwatch League, which generated a bit of money, but as we all know, a lot of that money got paid back to teams, didn't make as much money as they thought it would. And this was the buffer to make Overwatch 2, then launch that, and then we all go and buy that again, and they make more billions. Problem is, the game got changed to a free-to-play title and all of that, because when you look at Bobby Kotick, you look at Activision Blizzard, you see they have got Call of Duty, which is a game every year, a new game comes out. I know that's not the case at the moment, but you know, essentially every year a game was coming out. Then they had Warzone, they had battle passes, they had seasons, they had everything, and they wanted that for Overwatch. And I don't think Jeff and that original team wanted that, and that caused all of the problems, you know, where it was like, no, we're not doing this, we're going to work on this, caused massive delays. And yeah, so this is why I think Bobby was angry, because there was no content going into a game which was like $1 billion franchise. So you can understand in that way. But obviously we don't want crap content in the game. Anyway, let's move on. So the next comment is, so let me just take a drink, actually. Good Lord. So, yeah, this person says, does spending years faffing about on Project Titan not count? Player count numbers seem fairly comparable to other big games on the genre. Is spend per head just much lower, or does the game actually have player count issues? It doesn't really seem like the latter. Before we read this comment here, I just want to kind of like, there's no way to see the player count for Overwatch because it's all on proprietary owned systems that Blizzard own. Yeah, you can look at Steam and go, oh, there's 30,000 players, max play it every day. I mean, honestly, I'd be surprised if Overwatch had less than 300,000 players a day. I'm sure that's what it's got. There'll be times in the day where it has concurrent 300,000 players, 200 to 300,000, I would say. That is purely based off what I can see and the correlation I can form in my mind between player base and YouTube viewer statistics. Because you can look at games with player base numbers and you can kind of see like how that correlates to YouTube viewership. When I look at Overwatch YouTube viewership, in my head, it's kind of around this region of a game that's got maybe 200,000 to 300,000 peak concurrent players every day. But again, like I said, that's just me off my me making connections in my mind. But I think what is interesting here is the response is, yeah, if you include Titan's development costs, Overwatch 1 was immediately profitable. Overwatch 2 is another story. So obviously Titan was in development for a long time and Titan failed as a game. And as the story goes, Bobby Kotick said, hey, those heroes look great in Overwatch. Well, those heroes look great, what you've made. Can you not turn them into a game? And then they went away and Jeff comes back a week later with a slideshow going, hey, look, we've come up with this thing. We're calling it Overwatch. It's just an FPS, team-based FPS game with heroes with all superpowers. Yeah, and Bobby's like, nice one, let's go. And then that's what they did. And obviously, as we know, made billions and billions, so recovered the cost of development of Titan. So Bobby's going to love that. And yeah, then they could start working on new stuff. So this, again, is an interesting point, right? So Overwatch 1 was a paid-for product that had loot boxes. Of course it did. And this is in response to it making more money, right? So I guess we should break all of this down, actually, because I think I do have this comment up over there, but we'll read this anyway. So this user says, one ex-employee who got affected by the layoffs also admitted the game had made over 250 million. That's a decent figure, especially considering the current price of microtransactions in their store with no loot box, gacha systems to push player spending higher. Overwatch 1 made more than that in its first week. Now, I covered this a while ago where I broke down, in fact, I think I went into detail on like how much money Overwatch 1 had made and Overwatch 2 had made, and how Overwatch 1 had essentially done this in its first week, had made more money than Overwatch 2 has made over its like entire lifespan, which is, yeah, but that's not including the Le Seraphim stuff. I think it was up until Le Seraphim collab, which could have made a lot of money. Again, we don't know what the agreements are there because there'll be like a revenue share between the brand and Overwatch and all of that. Maybe Overwatch had to pay them to use their brand. You know, there'll be a lot of complex stuff going on. But anyway, in response to Overwatch 1 made more than 250 million its first week, this user says, well, Overwatch 1 was a paid product that had loot boxes. Of course it did. But, yeah, and Overwatch 2 had a way bigger team and took more than twice as long to make. So it was much more expensive, yet made exponentially less money than its predecessor, hence struggling. And I think this is the thing. You know, we look at what's happened recently with Blizzard. They fired a lot of people from the Overwatch team, a lot of the PvE people. I think this is straight up them looking at the game and going, okay, we've not met expectations with money, so we're now going to start cutting the team down. Now, the issue is, The reason why they haven't made expectations with money is because of the way they packaged and developed and released Overwatch 2, the monetization in the game, I guess the whole sort of like image around the game currently. All of this is negative towards the game, and it's not great. They are obviously, like I said, with the recent update, yeah, they are trying to fix a lot of this stuff, which is good. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if we see more streamlining of the Overwatch team going forward, because I think they might be looking at this going, you know what, I think they've got 400 devs working on it in a roundabout way, I think. That's a lot. And if they're not making money, and 250 million profit in the first week is also not great. The development team is going to be absolutely expensive to run as well. And games are expensive to run anyway, live service games. Yeah, so this is just going on to that comment that we've already covered. And yeah, so somebody asked what the source is, and he just said the source is, I've talked to a lot of people at Blizzard, which again is like, people do talk to Jason Schreier. Like, one of the things is people will say like, oh, a lot of people just believe what Jason says. There's a reason for that, because generally, it's not generally, in fact, literally in every case, he does have solid sources, and his news, he's an actual journalist, which is a rare thing in the game industry, because a lot of people are not really journalists. They just regurgitate Reddit posts on whatever gaming website and then change it, probably use AI or something. I don't know. It's a bit harsh on gaming journalists. But what I'm trying to say is Jason Schreier is one of the rare ones who actually is a journalist, but he's focused on gaming. So yeah, you do get a lot higher quality reporting off him. And yeah, he's the best in the industry at it. So I would believe what he says. Anyway, this user says this was never a big issue anyway. This is in relation to the basically his original post saying that new players are not sticking to the game, right? Player retention problems. Jason says, for hardcore players, sure, but I bet they missed out on a load of potential newcomers who might just want to download the game to check out Malga or Lifeweaver without having to pay or play for a dozen hours. And this is really an issue, this. When I sort of spoke about the bounce rate or the attach rate, the stickiness of Overwatch with new players at the top of the video, it's basically this, right? If you see marketing, which is for Malga, and you think, holy hell, I love the look of that guy, I want to play Malga, you download Overwatch, and then you try to play the game, and you're like, hang on, I can't even select this guy, what's going on? And then you realize you have to go through the whole new player experience, you have to play hours and hours, get wins, and it's like, what is going on? And then you don't even get the hero anyway, you'd have to buy that season's battle pass. Obviously, we're now in season 9, but you get what I'm saying, right? If we didn't have the changes coming to season 10 that we know are coming, and you still had to buy heroes, you'd have the same thing. People looking at Venture going, oh, wow, I really want to play them. But then they get the game, and it's like, no, you have to buy the battle pass to get them. And it's like, oh, my, and it just puts people off. And that's just not great at all. So I think a lot of what they're going to try and do at Blizzard is to make people stick to the game. They want players to download the game and stick on it, because I do think a lot of people download Overwatch, and I do think a lot of people check it out, but I just don't think people are sticking with the game and playing it over and over again. And they're not really converting them into players who are like fans of the game. It's just people jumping from free-to-play game to free-to-play game, and that's kind of it. And this is a big problem that they've got, and it's a problem they really need to sort out. Okay. Yeah, let's move on. So let's go and take a look at the GameSpot thing. I've got a bit of a dry throat on the coffee. This is a bit bright, isn't it? Hang on, let me make this darker. Okay, so this is a massive post, right? It's a big interview with Aaron Keller. We're going to break this down. Like I said, we need a drink for this. We're going to be here a long time. So, this is why Blizzard is overhauling Overwatch 2 to be more generous. Now, I guess before we get into this, you can be super cynical about this and say the reason why they're making changes to, because we all remember the infamous Walter Kong quote where he says, heroes are the highest engagement thing in Overwatch. That's why we're going to monetize them. You can say, it's not working. That's why they're going to just give the heroes away for free. You could be cynical and say that. Or you could be saying, okay, they've got more freedom when it comes to the game now because of the Microsoft takeover. So now they do want to add the heroes just to the game when they launch, because this is a game based on swapping your hero. And you've got the whole discussion about pay to win, which did rear its ugly head when Malga first launched and he was super OP. There were viral videos of people literally buying the battle pass in the middle of a competitive game to pick Malga, which was like outrageous. And I'd have been embarrassed if I was involved in the development of the game and that was happening. So yeah, there is an element of like, okay, they're bringing it back. and that's fine. Okay, let's move on to this then, because it's going to take a while to get through this. And now I know I'm sort of obscuring a bit of this. Maybe actually I can move this. Hang on. I forgot how to use this. Yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah, no, I'm going to cover it. I think I'm going to cover it regardless, so yeah, I'll just do my best to make sure you can kind of see the text. But anyway, let's get stuck into this. Overwatch 2 Season 10 brings massive changes to the game. Now, it's been a rocky 18 months for the Overwatch 2 team. After releasing back in 2022, the positive yet underwhelming reviews, scrapping the game's once promised PvE hero mode, and more, of recently undergoing large-scale layoffs that hit core members, like former lead narrative designer Gavin. There's been a bit of uncertainty in regards to what's next for the team-based shooter. However, the studio's next steps might just get things back on track. Since release, players have been vocal about their grievances with Overwatch 2's pricing. Though the game itself is free to play and its new heroes attainable through the free battle pass, so long as you sink some serious time into leveling it up, there has been criticism of the series' pivot to a battle pass system with the high price of cosmetics and the low distribution of coins. According to Overwatch 2 game director Aaron Keller, much of this is changing very soon. So, in fact, can I, whatever, this is my, oh God, I was about to ask for permission to rant in my own video. I'm not going to rant, but I do find it in a sick kind of way. I actually find looking at like free-to-play monetization quite interesting. And I really like looking at Valorant in this respect. So I don't play Valorant. I played it years ago when it launched, and that was it. Literally have not played a game of competitive Valorant ever. But what Valorant does really clever is its skins. I know they're wildly expensive, and I know they're weapon skins that can be used across all agents. But what it does that's really clever is it ties its skin drops into almost like a fashion release. It's almost like a hype beast release. It's almost like you're talking with your friends. Oh my days, have you seen the latest Valorant weapon pack or whatever, right? That is really cool. But I don't think you get that with Overwatch. And in this like sinister world of the free-to-play mind games and trying to get people to spend as much money as possible, I don't think people are running around going, wow, look at this. It's an awesome skin that's dropped and there's this build-up. See, Valorant does this good thing of like having these trailers for the skins, which really, really does sell the idea of a skin. Whereas like in Overwatch, you don't obviously get that. And yeah, you see them in trailers, I suppose, but they're not about the skin. So it's not as laser focused. I think it's more of a modern approach to that kind of thing. Maybe even a more zoomer approach, we could say. Anyway, let's move on. Starting in mid-April when Season 10 kicks off, all Overwatch heroes will be free to play upon release. Massive good news. Coins will be given more generously and tied to the game's free battle pass rather than its challenges, and a new store, the Mythic shop, will offer players a great deal of choice in what they work towards unlocking each season. In addition, players can now earn battle passes, as every 2 seasons there will be enough coins given through the game's free battle pass to purchase the premium version. Keller says the team will focus more on reworking maps going forward, as well as introducing modes and systems that can improve the game's PvP elements. In short, there's a lot to be tentatively excited about. So, when we do know 600 coins, so initially I was confused about this, but basically what they're doing is instead of the coins being attached to challenges, they're now just in the battle pass, but they're slightly increasing the amount. 600 is not 1,000. The battle pass costs 1,000, so you're still 400 coins off that. It's a start, I guess, but I would have preferred it if you just got the whole amount of coins back. I think that would have been a better way to keep people engaged in the battle passes, but whatever. At least they're there, and at least they're starting down that path. Okay, so GameSpot sit down with Aaron Keller, and they ask him some questions. So, as Overwatch 2 approached its 100 million players, how do you feel overall about the state of the game, its health as a live service title, and its overall balance? Overwatch is on a roll. I feel like we had a really big Season 9, and we have a lot of things coming in April for Season 10. And I think that a lot of this has to do with our refocus on the core PvP elements of the game. This is the game that everyone has been playing for the last almost 8 years, and I think it's the part of the game that makes it special and gives it its magic. Our characters, the way they control, the way they use their abilities, and the way they rely on their teammates to win a fight. It's really special, so the team is putting a lot of time and energy into making that side of the game as good as it can possibly be, and I think we're all excited to continue to do that. I'm really excited for what it means for Overwatch's future, so okay, fair enough. How do you feel about the decision to go to a battle pass versus loot boxes? Is there a significant difference in the creative process or in the workload Do you feel good about that decision at this point? Running a free-to-play live service game is a very difficult thing to do, especially one at a really large scale. And you look at the industry and the market, and there is a lot of talk around free-to-play games. Some of the biggest games on the market are that, but there's not as many of them as you think, especially ones that are running on such a scale. So for us, we introduced a store to players because we want there to be more player agency and more player choice in what they get. And I think that just being able to go into a shop and be able to purchase what you want is a more direct and fair experience for our game and for our players. Which it is, but obviously when the prices are stupid, you're just like, what? And then you get to the point where you're like me and you become like so disconnected from it. You just don't even care, but it doesn't even enter your head of like, wow, I'm going to buy that skin. I literally don't even care. It's like, what? And I should be the idiot who's spending all the money on the game, you know? Good Lord. Anyway, we have heard from some players that they enjoyed the loot box system, and it's hard sometimes to put words in players' mouths or to infer intent. But the way I take that is I think that players enjoy being able to earn as much as possible in the game without necessarily paying for it. Yeah, that's why they like the loot boxes. When people say they like the loot boxes in Overwatch, they're not saying they enjoy buying them and the random nature of them. They just enjoyed the fact that every couple of games they were playing, they could then open this wonderful box, which might give them some loot, which was a much better experience than going into the shop. That's what they liked about the loot boxes. And when Overwatch switched to a free-to-play business model, we were no longer able to continue to release cosmetics that way. Now, there were legal issues for this, issues where in certain countries started to ban loot boxes, so it was not it's not a business process they could carry on with, because at some point it would get banned, and then that would be a problem if the whole game was built around that. And also, loot boxes are crap. Like, be under no illusion, buying loot boxes is crap because it's random. You don't get to pick exactly what you want, which in which case a store is better. But of course, it all comes down to the price, doesn't it, of the items? Anyway, let's move on. With that in mind, what inspired the decision to remove heroes from the Battle Pass? Okay. We're pretty confident that removing heroes from the Battle Pass is not just what's best for our players, but what's best for the game. I mean, this was always best for the game, all right, in terms of the gameplay. When we first launched Overwatch 2, we had a worry that running a cosmetics-only business with a game that had all of these different heroes that you could purchase individual and unique cosmetics for might not be successful. But putting any type of gameplay behind a paywall that can have an effect on the competitive integrity of a game. What? Hang on a minute. Let me just read that again. It's just been... When we first launched Overwatch 2, we had a worry that running a cosmetics-only business with a game that had all of these different heroes that you could purchase individual and unique cosmetics for might not be successful. But putting any type of gameplay behind a paywall that can have an effect on the competitive integrity of a game. Maybe they mean buy, I don't know. Anyway, and so we tried to mitigate that. We put heroes in the free battle pass. We created challenges to unlock some of the heroes. Okay, what? This must have been when they were testing it, right? Heroes have never been in the free. Oh no, they have. What am I talking about? They have. It's level 55, isn't it? And then they reduced it to 45. I can't even remember. But yeah, okay. We also tried to remove some of the hard counters from the game to make that effect a little less pronounced and prominent. And those things didn't completely alleviate the problem. After about a year and a half of releasing seasons that have heroes in them and heroes not in them, I think we've seen that we can safely remove heroes from the Battle Pass and still run a successful business. And what success means to us is the ability to have a team that's still creating new heroes, creating new maps and modes, and all of the features that we're making well into the foreseeable future. We're really excited about this, and we really think that it's the right thing to do for the game. Okay, I think, so this, you can read this in two different ways. You can basically read this if they've got 18 months of data and they've decided, actually, hero seasons don't make any more money than seasons without a hero, so it's pointless putting the hero in the season. That's the super cynical view. The other view is we think if more people have access to the heroes, they're more likely to buy skins, and we make a lot more money off skins. So we want more people to have the heroes. Interesting though, nonetheless. Moving on to the opening of the Mythic shop, do you know what the pricing model is for that? Okay, here we go. We're getting into the spice now. What the price is going to look like for all the price points. Will it be implemented similarly to Fortnite, where you have a limited time that these mythic skins are available and they cycle out? So we know Blizzard like FOMO. They want FOMO to be part of the monetization of the game. Question is how much FOMO is going to be retained in this new Mythic store? Because, of course, Mythic skins are the FOMO components of the Battle Pass. You don't buy the Battle Pass, you don't get the Mythic. But, of course, the cynics inside all of us would say there's no world where Blizzard don't go back and try and monetize the Mythic skins because of how much development time they put into them. So just having them time limited is fine for maybe a year, then they start selling them a year after that. So let's see what they do. The Mythic shop, which launched in Season 10, is going to allow our players to have the choice to pick which Mythic skin they want to unlock or that they want to purchase. This is really good. And the way that they buy a Mythic skin is through currency called Mythic Prisms. The best way to earn Mythic Prisms is in the Premium Battle Pass. So as players work through the Battle Pass, they will be awarded Prisms. And if you get all the way through the Battle Pass, you'll have enough Prisms to unlock a Mythic skin and fully upgrade it, whether it's the newest Mythic skin for a Season 10 or some of our previous Mythic skins. So fine, right? But still, to get the Mythic Prisms, you need to buy the Battle Pass. So they're going to drop in the Battle Pass, probably replace like souvenirs or something, I reckon. But they're going to drop in the Battle Pass, which will then let you go to the Mythic shop and then buy whatever you want. Now, we know the way the Mythic shop works is you don't have to buy like the whole... You could buy like level 1 of the Anna skin because maybe that's the one you like, and then you can spend on other skins and get them. You don't have to fully upgrade them, which is cool, and I do like that. But yeah, Mythic Prisms are in the Battle Pass, and there is another way to get them. You can buy them. So you will have the ability to purchase Mythic Prisms as well, but we think the best way to do this is through the Battle Pass. As for whether the skins would come directly to the Mythic shop, new skins will be released throughout the through the Mythic shop. That's where they'll make their debut, and they'll be available through that season. Then they'll be pulled out of the shop for the next 2 seasons, reintroduced to it after that, and be permanently available. So when the Mythic shop launches in Season 10, you'll be able to get the Mythic skins from Season 1 through 7, as well as the newest Mythic skin. Right, so this is the FOMO component. And again, there always has to be a FOMO component with these guys. It's unreal. So what they're saying is, this isn't a free-for-all with every Mythic skin just in the shop. We still want the Mythic skin for the new season to try and get people to... Because you got to think of the phases of a season, right? So a season begins. You'll have players that come, right, okay, I want to check out the skin. Let's say this is a Mercy skin, right? So it's a Mercy Mythic. Everyone's going to lose their minds over this. Ollie, what are you doing? Come in, what's up? What's up? You okay? What's up? High five. Yeah, good. What's up, kid? Who's a good girl? Pussy. Okay, sorry. Where were we? So, yeah, Season 10, if it's a Mythic Mercy skin, I think the issue will be the phases of the season will be like, you've got people that come through the door initially that will want to immediately buy the skin. Now, because of the way Season 10 is done, they'll be able to just literally buy Prisms and then just buy the skin straight away, which is no different than buying the Battle Pass out completely, but that was expensive. But again, we don't know how much the Prisms are going to be for the skins, right? I'm sure they'll be expensive. I'm sure it will, if not, be the most expensive thing in the game. And then you've got people who play through the season, right? So maybe you buy the Battle Pass, you're playing, but then you don't have enough time to finish the season. And this is where it really pisses me off that the Battle Passes are not... that they're still time limited. They're not like you can just complete them at any point, which is what they should have done, but they're not. So you maybe play to get 70% of a full skin unlock from the Mythic store with the currency you earn in the Battle Pass. Then what do? Oh God, I best buy some more currency before the season's over, because it's going to be 2 seasons, which is 18 weeks before I can actually get this skin again. And to me, I don't like that. It's anti-consumer and it's crap. You know, I don't understand, like, I would love to see the data, the research behind this, but surely if you just let people have access to every Battle Pass, like you think of the people out there that maybe don't have like Season 5, 3, and 1's Battle Pass. Imagine if you said you can go and buy them now. They still cost the same price, $10. But also they've been retrofitted to have the Mythic currency in them. So you can progress through them and earn the currency. And think about like how that would increase the engagement of that player in the game. They'd play the game a lot more, you know. And I don't know. To me, it just seems weird, some of these decisions. But I'm sure they've got a lot of data, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what seems weird to me. I don't have access to data, and I'm not a multi-trillion-dollar company, which is what they are now. Okay, so pros and cons for these Mythic skins. Anyway, you mentioned there would be greater player choice for Mythic skins. How's that going to play out? The biggest thing with the Mythic shop is the ability to choose which Mythic skin you want to acquire, but there's even more player choice involved in it. Mythic skins will be broken up into the base skin as well as the different upgrades that you can purchase. And like I said before, if you work your way through the premium battle pass, you'll have enough currency to unlock the base skin as well as all of the upgrades for it. But you might not want to fully upgrade a Mythic skin. It might be that the last tier isn't as exciting for you as some of the upgrades for the other Mythic skins that you already have. And so you get the Mythic prisms. You'll be able to kind of choose where you want to spend them. You can spread out upgrades a bunch to the different Mythic skins, or go all in on one that you're really excited about. Okay, so I think that's fine. Prisons carry over from season to season. Yep. Do you have any? This is a good question. Do you have any plans to compensate players who purchase the premium battle passes to get those heroes instantly? And might find it unfair. No. Which is interesting, right? I know people are going in on me for talking about Helldivers, especially one nutcase on Twitter. But the thing with like Helldivers recently, they're giving refunds back to people who were buying the premium edition because it gives you 1,000 of the credits. So if you bought 1,000 credits already, they were refunding it back, which is a nice thing to do because you get them as well to buy the battle pass. You basically get the first war bond, I think, with that for free, which is 1,000. But yeah, there's no plans here. Blizzard are like, no, forget about that. We're not going to do any refunds. None of that's going to be done. That's the old system now. This is the new system. And yeah, so yeah, it's just the new system. Are there any other changes coming to the game's battle pass that you'd like to elaborate on? Okay. Yeah, we're going to be pulling the coins that players can earn from our weekly challenges and putting them into the free version of the battle pass. We're also increasing the number of coins that you can get each season to 600. The reason we're doing that is because we didn't think that players were earning enough coins in the weekly challenges, and we want players to be able to consistently do that. We want the game to feel like it's rewarding people's playtime. So when we looked at the data, we saw that they weren't earning enough, and putting them in the battle pass now is going to make it more consistent experience for them. The intent is for it to be a more generous experience for them. And when you look at it for a free battle pass, being able to earn 600 coins is actually a lot. It is, but it's not the next battle pass like other games regularly do. Even the biggest one out there, Fortnite, does that. Every 2 seasons, without ever playing for a battle pass, players will be able to earn a new one. Yeah. Which, like I said, it's better than nothing, right? So it's still good. Are there any concerns about how this will impact the company's bottom line with giving away so many things now? Okay. There was a lot of thought and intention behind these changes, and we do recognise that pulling heroes out of the battle pass could have an effect on our revenue, but we do think that with the introduction of the Mythic shop, that's something that can offset that and allow Overwatch to continue to be successful. The whole point is we want to be able to keep making our game sustainable, so we're able to continue making all of the things that we've been talking about. We want our team to be able to continue to make all of that. So our focus is to continue to be successful in order to make it do that. So this is all a load of like filler, but basically what this is here is they're saying like they're hoping the Mythic shop replaces any lost revenue from the battle pass seasons where, I mean, people must have bought the battle passes more when there was a hero and it's just got to have happened. And so they're hoping it offsets that and then makes more money. Yeah. In your presentation, you talked about prioritizing balance and reworking maps going forward based on player feedback. How do you get that player feedback, and what does implementation of that look like? Listening to players and developing the game alongside with them is important to us. Getting the information can be more complicated. There are a lot of different ways to do it. We run a lot of player surveys, which we see those a lot. We bring in focus groups of players to play our content and actually go through in person or on a call interview processes. That's one side of it. The other side is we have a really, really great community team that's always following the discussion online. The developers are doing that too, but it really lies on that group of people to be doing that. They're always writing reports, so I think we have our ear to the ground there. Yeah. We also collect a lot of data as well, and I don't think data is always conclusive, but we use it alongside other things that we're doing. For instance, you asked about map reworks. One of the things we look at with our data is the number of levers that we have for a particular map, and it looks like it's out of balance if the number of levers for a particular map is higher than others. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's less popular or that people have a particular issue with it, but there's definitely a signal for us to start investigating. We pull all of that together when we start looking at these things, and I think that's when you talk about map rework specifically. We have heard from the community that there's particular maps that people in the game don't like as much as others. Yeah. This would be kind of interesting. Do you know what I'd do if I was them? I'd be reading the chat logs. Like when somebody leaves, especially in competitive, and it's like Havana or something, and you've got someone typing in, I'll dodge. It's like, uh-oh. Yeah, your map's maybe not great. But, you know, map balance can be kind of fixed sometimes with hero balance. But yeah, I'm actually for map reworks. I think they're cool. They're cool and they do refresh things. So I'm happy, you know, that they're going to do more of that. If you look at the history of Overwatch, you've been really good about doing hero reworks, even when those hero reworks are very substantial and require additional work from a lot of different departments on the team. We go ahead and do it. And typically, when we do map reworks, it's a smaller thing, and it's just been recently we've started doing larger map reworks. Like our Gibraltar rework is bigger than we typically do, and we got a lot of really positive feedback from players. Yeah, Gibraltar was a good rework. So we think we're doing a map rework or even a season where we have a bunch of them at once could potentially be more exciting for our players than releasing a new map. I mean, again, I don't have access to data, right, guys? But I don't know. I'd like it if you guys answered this in the comments below. For me personally, maps are the most, like, the least interesting of new content to the game. I would say heroes, game modes, maps, if I had to put them in order. That's what I would be interested in. And surely that's probably like the stack flow, rank flow, whatever you want to call it, order that players have got as well. A map, unfortunately, isn't really as exciting as other stuff. In fact, a map rework might be more exciting because, you know, seeing a beloved map get changed, that could be fun. Like we're seeing with Hanaoka, we're seeing the return of Hanamura's tile set. So we're going to see like a Hanamura style map. People are hyped for that, and it's a new game mode. So yeah, that could be actually quite a good thing, actually. So yeah, good job. How do you balance making changes to existing things that currently players really like versus keeping it enticing for people who aren't playing the game yet? We do a lot of balance changes in Overwatch, and I think when we do it, it can provide a momentary exciting piece of a season or a period of time for players, but it's short-lived. When you look at Overwatch as a whole, it's actually a pretty simple game. There's not a lot of complex systems that are happening inside of gameplay or even typically around a match that are affecting the way people think about the way they play. There's not an in-game shop, for example. Okay, so it means in the game. I was like, hang on. So you're not making those sort of decisions. So you're not obviously like picking items up in the game. You're really just picking your hero, getting your team to come together, and then going out on a very even playing field with the enemy team. I think that we will continue to make balance changes to the game. It needs it because, one, the meta is always changing, but it also keeps the game fresh for players. So yeah. But on top of that, I think one of the things that the Overwatch team is talking about right now is, are there other systems that we could potentially add to the game that can add some sort of strategic depth that we think players might want while still keeping the game pure to what it is, which is a very fast-paced competitive game without there being a lot of other things to think about while you're involved in enemy combat. We don't really have anything to announce with that, but it's more of just the direction of the way we're thinking. And if we were to introduce systems like that, it's also the sort of thing besides just balance that we will be able to periodically change to give those moments freshness to the experience. Okay. I think there was a Dexerto interview. I think Aaron also did an interview with them in which he referenced like a pick ban system could be one of those style of systems, but then also very quickly said, hang on, we're not putting that in the game. It's just something we're discussing. So yeah, heroes and map pick bans. Anyway, moving along, I would like to hear a little bit more about Clash, and so would I. I'd like to play this mode, actually. So Clash is the newest game mode that we're developing for Overwatch 2, and we're going to be running a preview of it in Season 10. The preview is going to take place on one of the two Clash maps that we'll be releasing a little bit later this year called Hanaoka. We showed it a bit at BlizzCon, and I think that one way you could look at Clash, it has a little bit of inspiration from a mode that we had in the original Overwatch called Assault. With that mode, it was about taking 2 control points in a row. It was like some of our other modes where there is an offense and a defense. The big difference with Clash is that it's a symmetrical map and a symmetrical game mode, which means that both teams are playing offensive and defensive the same way that you do in Push, let's say, but it's still arranged with points in a row. So the exciting thing about Clash is you have those moments where you're just trying to break through to try and take the next point, but as opposed to Assault, it can go in 2 directions. This game mode is really about momentum and how you come together as a team in order to stop the enemy's team's advance. The regroup and then regroup and start pushing into enemy territory. It does require a lot of teamwork and a lot of coordination, and that's the part of the mode that we're a little bit worried about. Okay. But that's part of why we're excited to be running a trial with it, because now we can put it out in front of players, get a bunch of feedback, and yeah. Okay. So there's a lot there, right, in that. And I think actually what I will just pull up while we sort of discuss the end of that is there was, I don't want to call this a roadmap, but there was an image on Twitter which actually showed Venture off, actually. I might put that in the thumbnail because it's the best render we've got of Venture, even though it's like low resolution. Yeah, but there's like an image which shows us the stuff that's coming to the game. Okay, here we go. So this is, let me, can I even, what have I even done here? I've sort of like, this is like zoomed in all crazy. Hang on, here we go. Yeah, so what we can see here is, so we've got the new map, Runasapi. There we go, the Peruvian map. We've got new clash coming. The map, sorry, the new mode clash with the map Hanaoka is going to be a trial in season 10. New game mode clash, and there's the UI for it, because it's basically the 5 points you just capture as you go through back and forth. So there's no back capping. You're always fighting over the 2 nearest points, basically. So it would differ from Team Fortress 2's similar mode in that way. You've got Mythic updates here, which are obviously the Mythic skin stuff. You've got more control over buying whatever. You can earn coins. And you've got heroes unlocked, and then you've got, yeah, Venture with a better look at Venture's model. Venture immediately unlocked for everybody. Yeah. So honestly, I think, guys, like, there's a lot of information there in that interview. There are bits and pieces that I kind of would have preferred if they were actually in the official video they put out there, especially if they went into detail with the Mythic store and how it worked, like saying, hey, look, you can all, like, even show the new battle pass off with the Mythic currency in it, the Mythic prisms. Obviously, the big thing will be, like, what do these Mythic skins cost? Do they think that's going to be strong enough to keep the revenue coming to the game? Obviously, heroes not being in the battle pass is a major win for me, personally. I think that's great. Like, that's going to make the game much more player-friendly. I don't like the fact that the battle passes are still time-limited. I don't like the fact that they're restricting or having FOMO with the Mythics, where if you don't buy it, well, you need to come back in, you know, essentially 18 weeks' time to buy it again. So that's going to create a bit of FOMO. But overall, I think, like, honestly, this is a year where Overwatch is, and it started back in November, this did last year, where they were back at BlizzCon straight up stating, like, look, we are focused on PvP now. So I don't think it really comes as much of a shock that the PvE is essentially gone. The PvE team's gone. And they're just trying to, I don't know, use the word salvage, because I don't think Overwatch needs salvaging. It just needs a good direction to make it monetizable. And I think that's what they're trying to do through these changes. But honestly, I'm all for the majority of these changes, because you can't deny that this is better than the state it was that we've got now. All right, guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments. I mean, there's going to be, there's be some pretty spicy comments to this, because it's a lot to go over. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, let me know what you think about it. And yeah, do subscribe to the channel, like the video, and all that good stuff. And I'm going to finish the rest of my coffee, which, by the way, is still warm, because this is like one of those, what is it? It's an insulated mug. It's my camping mug. It's really good. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you soon.